Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. I decided to take a break from studying for a Linux exam test for my IT major to go over with you guys some of the more finalized 7.1 buffs happening in World of Warcraft. So last time I talked a bit about the 7.1 buffs. We just had whatever buffs we could find mined off of the PTR version of the game, but these are the finalized buffs. I'm reading them off as of 24th, about 10 p.m. So around 3 p.m. 2 or 3, the technically patch 7.1 is supposed to launch, and chances are the servers are going to be down, but with the way that Blizzard has been doing things, they might not be down for too long, so all of you might be able to experience all these buffs. The way Blizzard has looked at it is certain classes in PvE encounters have had either lackluster AoE, cleave, spread damage, or lackluster single target damage, and they have been buffed accordingly. We're not really looking at the game in a PvE perspective, we're more taking a look at the PvP side of the perspective. So when I'm going over the buffs, I am thinking everything in terms of PvP. So please do keep that in mind. So with this, we're going to start off with the way that they have it listed, with Death Knights at the forefront and with Warriors at the end, and then I will also go over the PvP honor talents that each class and spec gets, some of the biggest changes, and go over them somewhat loosely. The notable changes for Frost Death Knights is Razor Ice stacking effect is now 3% per stack instead of 2%, so that's a damage increase. The Obliterate damage has been increased by 20%, and Howling Blast has been increased by a whopping 50%. For Unholy, we've seen only a 50% damage increase to Deathly Call, so not a huge change there, but it seems that Frost Death Knights are going to be hitting a little bit harder than before. If you're playing Survival Hunter and you've been struggling here and there, don't worry, Blizzard has buffed you. Raptor Strike now increases the damage by 100%, Carve damage increased by 150, Butchery damage increased by 35, Thrown Axe damage increased by 25, and Animal Instincts for Survival has been redesigned, where Flanking Strike now reduces the remaining cooldown of a random one of the abilities. I'm not sure what Blizzard likes about the random chance and like Hearthstoning the game, but as an Outlaw rogue, I can kind of see where they're going with it, and I do understand the random chance thing there. So Flanking Strike has a chance to be reset, Mogul's Bite chance to reset, Aspect of the Eagle chance to reset, and Harpoon chance to reset, which will allow you for random mobility, Mogul's Bite, Aspect of the Eagle, and Flanking Strike, also encouraging you to use Flanking Strike a lot more often and during specific situations, especially in PvP. Mages saw a whopping damage increase all over the board. Arcane Mages saw Arcane Blast, Missiles, and Orb increase by 17%, but the Arcane Charge is now increasing mana cost by 125 to offset it for PvE. Fire damage for Fire Mages, Pyroblast damage reduced by 6%, but Flame Strike and Aftershock have been increased by 15 to account for a little bit of extra AoE damage. For Frost Mages, we're actually seeing a whopping increase of at least 5% per ability. Water Ball damage increased by 25% for your Elemental, Water Jet increased by 100%, Ice Lance, Frostbolt, Ray of Frost, Frost Bomb, Comet Storm, Ebon Bolt, Frozen Orb, and Blizzard. Most of these increased by 5%, but Blizzard is increased by 10%. So overall, we're not seeing a huge buff in certain aspect for Frost, but overall, they got a little bit of a tune-up, so in most cases, you should be hitting slightly harder. For Windwalker Monks, there have been a slight nerf. It's not really a damage nerf of any sort, but the hit combo that you have and ability to build up your buff for damage with hit combo. Some monks would throw in Crackle and Jade Lightning because it costs no energy, and it would allow you to be able to keep your hit combo rolling when you don't have an ability up. Now, Jade Lightning costs 20 energy initially with 20 energy per second, so no longer will you be able to effectively chain this ability without losing any energy. Shadow Priest got some changes happen to them. I'm not really sure if it's really a buff, but there definitely are changes. First of all, Arcane Torrent for Shadow Priest will generate 15 Insanity, which is awesome because now Arcane Torrent accommodates for every spec and class in the game. Power Word Shield cost increased by 51%, and Shadow Form has been returned as a spell for Shadow Priest. You assume Shadow Form as before, increasing your shadow damage dealt by 10% and reducing your physical damage taken by 10. You may not cast holy spells while in this form. Shadow Visual is now tied to Shadow Form, and Void Form now acts to intensify Shadow Form, automatically triggering Shadow Form if not already active. When Void Form ends, you return back to Shadow Form. So now not only do you have Shadow Form, but Void Form, so that's going to be interesting for some of the Shadow Priests to work with. And the damage for all Shadow Priests has been reduced to compensate for this, resulting in no net damage increase or loss. I'm pretty sure this change has been made primarily for PvP, so now a Shadow Priest can sit in a Shadow Form, take 10% less damage, and it will be a little bit easier for them to deal with other casters and melee training them. as I'm pretty sure they took away a lot of the shadow form and the buff that you had for the armor that you initially had. So this is going to be something I'm pretty sure a lot of shadow priests will be happy about. Another thing I was thinking is they said that you cannot cast holy spells while in this form. As far as I understand, you don't really have any holy spells besides Power Word Shield, and that's a discrease spell. So I'm not really sure what holy spells Blizzard might account for. I'm pretty sure Power Word Shield isn't a holy spell, but if it ends up being part of it, then that's going to be a little bit annoying for Shadow Priest to cast Bubble, then cast, Shadow Form again, because your heal, your primary heal, is actually a Shadow spell. So I'm not sure why that's in there, but that's something for all you Shadow Priests to watch out for when you're PvPing. Surprisingly, Rogues got a buff. Outlaw got a 10% damage increase for Saber Slash, Pistol Shot, Ghosted Strike, and Blunderbuss, which is a trait for Artifact Weapon. So that's neat. Also, the cast time for Assassination Poisons had been reduced to 1.5 seconds, which is pretty awesome. Hemorrhage, Mark for Death, Ghosted Strike show up and cast as nameplates, and Kingsbane that generates 1 combo point. That's really everything there is for Rogue. So a decent buff for Outlaw, and Kingsbane that generates 1 more combo point, which is pretty cool. Elemental Shaman saw a buff with Earth Shock, Frost Shock, you get an increase in damage by 15%, and Stormkeeper now makes it so lightning bolts and chain lightnings are instant, Stormkeeper being your artifact weapon. So when you use your artifact weapon, which has a 1.5 second cast time, the next 3 lightning bolts, I guess, that you have for a little bit are going to be instant, and they're going to be empowered. So it'll be a little bit easier for you to line up some sort of bursty style damage onto an enemy when you can sling 3 instant cast lightning bolts for a single cast of a Stormkeeper, which I think is a fair trade. Warlocks have been made a little bit less tanky for PvE and PvP, because now you can no longer combo Demon Skin and Dark Pact, as Demon Skin and Demonic Circle have swapped talent locations. So now most Warlocks will have to choose either Demon Skin or Dark Pact, which is pretty great for everybody else who had to struggle trying to fight beefy Warlocks, even though I don't think they might be the best class in terms of arenas. They get trained pretty hard, but still it is an interesting change. Affliction saw a lot of damage increases everywhere, with Unstable Affliction, Siphon Life, Drain Soul, Phantom Singularity being increased by 5%, Agony being increased by 5% as well, and Corruption damage increased by 10% altogether. And for Demonology, Demonic Empowerment now increases the health of your minions by 20% instead of 50%, which does sound like it's going to reduce the damage of your artifact weapon. But above the damage of your artifact weapon, where Thalkael's, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong, Thalkael's Corruption deals damage equal to 8% of your pet's health from 6. I'm not sure if that's a damage increase or damage decrease or simply a balancing out, because I haven't run the numbers, and I don't play Warlock to run the numbers. We also saw a solid buff for all the Fury Warriors, so if you've been playing your Arms Warrior or saving your Fury Warrior for a right occasion, it is time to play some Fury. Fury Warriors saw a buff for damage for most of your abilities, including Raging Blow, Furious Slash, Dragon's Roar, Ravager, Odin's Fury, and Bloodthirst by 8%. Enrage has also been nerfed a little bit, where Enrage used to make you take 30% more damage. Instead, now it's going to make you take 20% more damage. Now the 10% damage decrease is going to be... I don't think that nerf to Enrage mechanic is going to be enough to make Fury Warriors any more viable than they are for, let's say, high rated or high Mythic Plus, or maybe even most optimized rating situations, let alone PvP. But it is going to be a little bit easier to manage the amount of damage you take, whether it comes to PvE or PvE content, because in most cases, let's say for like Mythic Plus, Fury Warriors would literally get one-shotted to mechanics, and if you die in Mythic Plus, you get a worse of a time in order to get your 3 chests, and that means less loot, and in some cases it means you can't complete the dungeon before the time runs out. So they also changed the War Paint. War Paint used to reduce how much damage you took from Enrage by 10%. They customed it, so now it's 5%. So the least amount of damage you can take while you're enraged is 15%. So Blizzard are still keeping up that enraged mechanic, which I'm not too happy to hear it, because if I had a class where every time I did burst, I just all of a sudden take like 20 to 30% more damage, that's almost enough damage to basically enable other players that are hitting me to almost burst me just by going through their main rotation. They don't even need to be hitting all that hard, they don't even need to pop cooldowns, but it'll still feel like I'm getting bursted down by them. But that's just my personal opinion, although these buffs with Fury are super nice and are going to make him hit a little bit harder throughout the board. as you can see, Pilgrim has been able to play Fury just fine. I'll have his link down in the description below. That's the Fury warrior that I'm doing 2's arenas with, and I'm pretty sure he'll keep you guys updated on all the buffs as is. So head over to his channel if you want to see some Fury PvP and watch how Fury performs post buffs. Now for the last part of the video, I want to go over the honor talents that are happening in the game. I'm not going to be going in too much of detail for every single class because I'm not an expert by any of these classes by far. But I am going to graze over the very basic things that you guys should know, and if you're playing any of these classes, please do take a look at them at your own time, as you might find some of these changes pretty nice. First of all, we have the druid changes, and they have changed the position of many of their honor talent trees, and most of the changes happen, I know, for boomies, but if you're playing Resto and Feral, you did see a few changes happening on your end as well. Monks, we have a few changes to the Windwalker PvP talent tree. One of the things to note for is Disarm is back for Windwalker Monks. It is in a way of grapple weapon, which is a 6th tier honor talent. I'm not really sure if they have any abilities that could be competitive with it, but Disarm is back for monks, and it's almost like they're back in the days of Pandaria when they had the monk capability for Disarm. It seems like they are bringing Disarms back in the game, as Outlaw rogues and monks are one of the classes that have that now. We also have had a lot of good changes for Destruction Warlocks and a lot more options. If you've been watching Cobrag, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll have his link for his channel as well, because if you do play Warlock, you should definitely be watching Cobrag, and if you're playing Destruction in particular, then you might want to be watching out for all the buffs that are coming out from his channel, as I'm pretty sure he'll make videos of arenas and BGs with it. And I think that's really everything that is notable for the time being. It looks like the patch 7.1 is going to be a pretty exciting patch in terms of PvP. It looks like a lot of classes are having a lot of buffs happening here and there, so if you played any of those classes or currently are playing any of the classes mentioned in the video today, then feel free to go back to those classes or check out some of the buffs once the patch releases. Also, remember that we have Karazhan, and in 2 weeks from today, I'm pretty sure, in 2 weeks today, we'll have another raid with Trial of Valor. It'll be the Valkyr and the Odin and the Helia raid. It'll be very exciting, very cool, and I cannot wait to get into that with my guild. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. This is everything that is noteworthy for PvP, and let me know what you think about the buffs about this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.